when we look at this, what had happened is that God had unleashed the devourer. Somebody say that God unleashes the devourer. You see, God used in this instance grasshoppers or locusts in this instance to get their attention. There are 4 different types that were used that's spoken of literally in the text. Now, this is an insect that's sometimes called a hopper because it has enormous legs on its hind legs. And it's designed by God not to have continuous or constant motion, but to hop and stop. So you see it, but you can't stop them because every time you go after them, they hop again. Here are the locusts here, and they come after them in an unusual posture because it looks like they are examples of 4 kinds of people that sometimes enter into our lives. He started off with, first of all, dealing with something like the palmer worm. Somebody said a palmer worm, yeah. Now, the palmer worm is a usual word, comes from the word gayam, which actually means that it is a shearer. He gnaws off things and he leaves it in pieces. His major purpose is to bring things into ineffectiveness. You have some people you know like that. They come and they always take something off of what you have. They never ever come bringing anything. They always sift a little from you. And by the time you turn around and look, the whole thing is they've always brought you to a place where you just can't quite finish what you got started. Then he says the palmer worm leaves something. And then coming after the palmer worm comes the cankerworm. Cankerworm is a Hebrew word called leg. And that word is a lapper. It is like a maggot. I know you don't like to talk, it might be talk like that, but it licks off of stuff. It brings contamination. You know, we don't have as much of that anymore as we used to, but you know, we used to have to take lime and pour it in the garbage can. I remember if any of y'all understand that when we were kids, my dad used to put that lime in the garbage can on 45th and State Street and put the lime in it because that's the only way you got rid of the maggots. Some of y'all looking at me like, like, what? What? Yeah. But that's the only way you got one. And so you can't mess with the garbage now because lime is in the garbage can. But the maggots bring contamination because they were going to make sure that everything was definitely infectious by the time you got through it. But the maggots leave a residue as well. And the scripture says that which the cankerworm have left, have the caterpillar eaten. The caterpillar is chassil. It is the deceiver. It's a consumer. It operates unassumingly. It moves slow while eating fast. It is the 3rd kind of locust. It's the kind that gets in your garden. And it looks like he's just laying on your leaf. But if you go and come back, you'll see that he's leaving a trail. And he's eating your leaf while he's moving at a slow pace. Some of you have some people who've been hanging around you. They're just taking a little bit out of the refrigerator of your life daily. and so just because they were not praying and not paying attention to God, God started letting them get sifted off of. And before they could pay attention and see what was going on, they were losing more than they were keeping, and was making things difficult for them. And then then the caterpillar also left some things left for the final one, which was the locust or achbe. And the achbe was the grasshopper. You see, when we look at that, he was the swarmer because these are the ones who came and showed up, and they ate in packs. They came so strong. These former locusts came so strong. When they came over the vineyards, they ate in packs. They would darken the area where they came, and they would eat so quick because they had this great gift of life that allowed them to, excuse my tone, but to eat and release at the same time. So they never get full. Let me just stop there for a minute. So anybody got some family members that never get full? No matter what you give them, no matter what you do, they always after something else. They always need something else. They never get full. Never get full. If you know somebody, just tell somebody, I think I know somebody like that. Go on. And so God allowed all allowed four types to show up, and they began to devour where they were. They began to see how difficult it was to make it because he let them begin to consume themselves. And the locusts in this instance were examples of human life and how human life operates. Along with the locusts came a terrible drought in the 19th and the 20th verse. And the combination of the two brought the place into a land of extreme famine. But the text declares that if you want to make it, you're going to have to pray your way through this. Because this is how the text starts, because the text jumps out in verse 13 and says, Joel, I need you to tell them before they go through all of this, before it comes to an end, that they can get through this, but tell the priests and the ministers that they have a job to do. So he says, listen, priests, I want you to gird yourself up, lament over what has happened, and ministers, get to the altar and intercede. Stop just praying for tradition, but pray over the conditions. See what needs to be said. Don't waste your words. Speak into what necessarily needs to happen in the community and become serious about being those who speak what God is saying in the earth, because it's difficult to run even your ministry if there's no food in the cupboard. So he says, listen, when you get the people, get them together, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the elders, bring all the inhabitants of the land, bring them into the house of the Lord, and this is what you do. When you get in there, start praying. Let's stop there for a few minutes. Somebody here just talk to your neighbor and say, start praying, start praying. Yeah, it's interesting because prayer, when we talk about, is sometimes called the sincere desire of the heart. It's a form of communication that is not hindered by grammatical errors or helped by superlative articulation, but prayer can be a sigh or a cry, a moan or a groan. It deals with the essence of you having a relationship outside of yourself that's spiritual enough for you to deal with God and God to deal right back with you. Yeah. I don't know where I would be if I couldn't pray. And even people who say they don't believe in God end up praying. All they need is something crucial enough for God to come out of their mouth. Oh, Lord. Oh, that's right, I don't believe in the Lord. But when all you need is something difficult enough to say, listen, I have no other help. Because God puts us in the postures and in some places to realize that he's the only one that can get us through several situations that literally happen in our lives. And so God speaks as though he's compelled by his own legal obligation to help them. And he says, listen, I need you to get them together because I want you to understand if you start praying, you summons me to get on your business and to handle your affairs. So here's the blessing. When we straighten up, God always turns our situation around. Why don't you just tell that to somebody, speak it to somebody and say, all you got to do is straighten up. God will turn the situation around. I can hear Solomon say, if my people who are called by my name would just humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sins and heal the land. I can hear Isaiah saying in Isaiah 1:19, if you just be willing and obedient, you'll eat the good of the land. I can hear Ezekiel saying in 1832, he says, I have no pleasure in the death of them that dieth. So just turn yourselves so you can live. Somebody just tell your neighbor, I'm about to live like I've never lived before. So he opens this thing up and he begins to say, listen here, because you guys are praying, let me tell you what I'm going to do for you. So he opens up and takes them to a passage of hope that shifts this entire plague and gives it great opportunity to move into something brand new. Because in the second chapter of Joel, in verse 25, he opens up by saying, I will restore to you the years that the locusts let me stop there for a minute, have eaten. Somebody just tell your neighbor it's getting ready to get better for us. Yeah. You see, there's no reason to live if you don't think things are about to improve. When you begin to look and understand that God is in control, you begin to understand that whoever thinks they're in control, they're only a part of the atmosphere. But God is in control, and I take it on for myself that God's about to make things wonderful for me. That eyes have not seen and ears have not heard, and neither has it entered into the hearts of men. The things God has in store, it's about to get better than it's been. And I believe that God's about to make it wonderful for me. Somebody here who got that same thing, give somebody a high five and tell them it's about to get better for me. I will restore the years. I'm going to restore the years. Let me say, I'm going to restore the years. It's about to be better than it's ever been. I'm going to restore the years that the cankerworm and the locusts have eaten. He says, the cankerworm, the caterpillar, the palmer worm, and my great army, which I sent among you. I let them be there, but I didn't let them wipe you out. Matter of fact, if you can feel yourself breathing, the really reason you're breathing because God said he got some stuff still for you. And so every once in a while, what you need to do while you're inhaling and exhaling, you need to make sure you inhale your future and exhale your past. And whatever is going on in you that don't need to be there, make sure you let it go. So that whatever God has for you ends up being the very thing you hold on to as you head toward your future. And ye shall eat plenty and be satisfied. And praise the name of the Lord your God that have dealt wonderfully with you. And my people shall never be ashamed. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. And I am the Lord your God and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. Understand, God speaks to them again as though he has a legal obligation. He said, just because you prayed, I'm going to turn things around. I'm just wondering if there's anybody here who's been praying about something. Anybody here got something in your life, in some matter that you've been praying about? You need to keep that hand lifted up and look at him. Watch you prophesy to him and say, just because you prayed, God's going to do something for you. Just because you meant it, God's going to open the door for you. Just because you prayed, God's going to find a way to bless you. Just because you prayed, God's going to show you that he's got your back and he's got you covered. Just because you prayed, he's going to come and show that he's got you in the midst of your situation. So don't stop praying. Somebody help me. Just tell somebody, don't stop praying. No matter what you look at, don't stop praying. Because prayer still works. What happens when you pray? Well, when you pray, you set up ambushments against the enemy. You make the angels begin to respond to the essence of what your call is. For he says, I'm in a person where I begin to hear your praises. And God inhabits the praises of his people. When you pray, what you do is you let God in your business. And when God gets in your business, that's the best one to have in it. When God gets in your business, he can start handling the things you can't see. And do the things you can't do. And go places that you can't go. And when God gets in your business while you're on your way, he gets in the way. And he makes a way out of no way that while you're on your way there, it's already done by the time you arrive. Anybody prayed that when you got there, it was already done. Somebody ought to tell your neighbor, he fixed it for me before. And he can fix it for me again.